Hello, trading is closed on November 4th, 2021. Start with our disclaimer. It's my trading plan for tomorrow, Friday, November 5th. Remember, I can be completely wrong, and the trade should be at your own risk. Look for the pattern with the early high. There it is. Tomorrow's pattern has the early low. I said I wasn't interested in shorting, but unless we gapped up smartly, I had a lower target, and I had to stick with my rule and say unless we gapped up smartly, that was my call. We gapped up smartly, so the call is killed before the open. Just a reminder of what we said. During the day, right at the high, MEJT said ultimately lower price it would print. Didn't have to print immediately, but they did. We had these squiggles in the afternoon. MEJT said there were false moves and they'd all retrace. That's already happened. With 15 minutes left to trade, in spite of gapping up and hitting a new all-time high, we were trading under all these intraday highs, in spite of the fact that this is normally a bullish pattern with the high at the day's close. Then we had a wall into the close. And the question is, was this the real thing, or did it save the pattern or not? Well, when this pattern doesn't close near its high, it usually leads to lower prices even if we don't close lower. That's awfully close to these highs, and all we have to do to set things right and get the normal pattern is to gap and continue higher and trade over this high. If we do that, the negativity of this pattern goes away. And when you're this close to a new all-time high, the wall doesn't have to gap down. But it will gap down about half the time. And if this is phony, we'll probably gap down under this low. And if that were to happen, I think it's likely we'll undercut some of these other lows as well. I'm not going to predict how we'll open. It's a very strong rally. Not going to predict the reversal. But at least it's vulnerable to the reversal if we don't gap and take out this high. And if the reversal happens, if it happens, it'll probably start by gapping under this low. I've given up on the Marx indicators, but today was day 13 of a combo sell signal. Now, these haven't been followed by dropping the way they did for decades, but they've often been followed by consolidating and correcting the overbought condition over time. So it can fail. It's failed before, but it's a sign that we're overextended, which you don't really need this indicator to tell. It's pretty obvious. Doesn't mean it has to reverse. But if we gap under this, at least for the short term, you can explain it. Now, Norm Winsky's back in a different video today. He gives the dates for trend changes. One of them is after today's close. We also had a discussion about the longest winning streaks ever. Each of us came close, but we're not playing horseshoes. Turns out the longest winning streak for the S&P 500 came in April 1971, 14 straight days of rally. So next time you're on Jeopardy, if someone asks you that, that's the correct question. Okay, tomorrow's pattern has a early low. It could still gap up. Today's pattern didn't have its standard rally with a high of day in the final hour. If it's the market's intention to continue the rally, All it needs to do to vitiate the negative implications of this would be to gap and promptly overtake today's high. We came near the high at the close. It's well within reach. The rally is going to continue. It shouldn't be all that hard to do, but it's not a lock. NASDAQ McClellan oscillator gave a sell signal by reversing down from a print over its upper Bollinger Band. Now I've seen us trade back over the band the next day, and that kills the signal. But if we don't, it's one of my favorite signs for a top, at least for the short term. How much of a top, it doesn't say. But that's a sign of being overextended. We have a wall into the close, making gapping down plausible. One of Norm Winsky's dates for a change in trend is after today's close. We also have the DeMark combo sell. They've been followed by consolidating rather than reversing, and some just haven't worked at all. But when they're accompanied by other stuff, they have had some validity. Now, I'm not shorting this market, period. I'm not looking to short. But if we don't take out today's high early, one can make the case for pulling back. And how much of a pullback would likely depend on the early trade. Regardless of how much we pull back, I still think we're going to hit higher highs and rally into the end of the year. And the trend is your friend. It's just a question of where to enter new long positions. And if we do gap down under this, we could have a more favorable entry point. So tomorrow has the early low. All the bulls need to do is take this high out early. But if they don't, the odds favor gapping. It doesn't require gapping under this low, but it's a high likelihood. And if so, there should be more of a reversal. That doesn't change a long-term picture that I think we're still going up. That is today's call.